Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to the international webinar on expression of peace, culture, art, and dialogue, organized by Lakeview Learning and Development Center in association with Dr. MGR Janaki College of Arts and Science for Women. Today, we come together to explore peace through culture, art, and meaningful dialogue. We hope this event will inspire each one of you to actively contribute to creating a peaceful community for all. We have an exciting and inspiring lineup today, including esteemed speakers, artists, and voices of youth who are making a difference in peace building efforts. So let's begin with this journey together. To officially start, may I invite everyone to focus and set a calm, peaceful tone as we commence our webinar with a prayer. Please join us in a moment of reflection and peace as we offer a prayer. May I request Ms. Shivashakti to render the prayer song.
அந்த மலைதனில் வாசம் கொண்டு கலையுடன் மின்னும் அந்த திருமலை நாயகன் ஸ்ரீ வெங்கடேசன் திருமலை நாயகன் ஸ்ரீ வெங்கடேசன் சொலைவனம் தனிலே நின் அழகினை காணவே சொலைவனம் தனிலே நின் அழகினை காணவே அலர்மேல் மங்கையுடன் தரிசனம் தருவாயே அலர்மேல் மங்கையுடன் தரிசனம் தருவாயே ஏழுமலை வாசா ஸ்ரீ வெங்கடேசா சேஷாச்சலவாசா ஸ்ரீ கோவிந்தா கலியுக வரதா காருண்ய கருணதயாலா நீவாராய் கலியுக வரதா காருண்ய கருணதயாலா நீவாராய் கேசவ மாதவ யாதவ ராகவ சங்க சக்கர ரிஷிகேஷா கேசவ மாதவ யாதவ ராகவ சங்க சக்கர ரிஷிகேஷா மலைதனில் வாசம் கொண்டு கலையுடன் மின்னும் அந்த திருமலை நாயகன் ஸ்ரீ வெங்கடேசன் திருமலை நாயகன் ஸ்ரீ வெங்கடேசன்.
Thank you, Shivashakti, for the beautiful prayer. Now, to capture the essence of peace through the language of dance, we have a special performance prepared. Dance, like peace, transcends words and touches hearts. Please enjoy this dance performance by the students of Department of Natya, Dr. MGR Janaki College of Arts and Science for Women, that symbolizes the universal pursuit of peace.
நிலவ வேண்டும் எங்கும் சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும் வேண்டும் உலகிலே சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும் ஆத்ம பொங்க வேண்டும் உலகிலே சாந்தி நிலவ ஆத்ம சக்தி பொங்க வேண்டும் உலகிலே சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும் கட்டளை அதுவே காந்தி மகா சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும் உலகிலே சாந்தி நிலவ வேண்டும் மனமது இருந்த நற்குணமதை புகட்டிடோம் குமை செய் தீயோர் மனமது இருந்த நற்குணத்தை புகட்டுவோம் அறுப்போம் மக்கள் நல்லொழுக்கம் வளர்ப்போம் மடமையச்சம் அறுப்போம் மக்களின் மாசிலா நல்லொழுக்கம் வளர்ப்போம் தரும் அஹிம்சா யோகிதன் பெறவே தந்தை ஆத்மானந்தம் பெறவே கடமை மறவோம் அவர் கடன் தீர்ப்போம் களங்கமில்லறம் வளர்ப்போம் கடமை மறவோம் அவர் கடன் தீர்ப்போம் களங்க
Thank you for the graceful performance that truly embodied spirit of peace. Now let's move on to the formal part of our program. It is my pleasure to invite Rotarian Dr. Vasanthi Ranganathan, Rotary Peace Activator from the Asia cohort, to deliver the welcome address. Dr. Dr. Vasanthi is a passionate advocate for peace, and we are honored to have with us today. She holds 2 PG degrees in English and teaching from India, management and doctoral work from US. She is a leading management and education consultant working with Indian and multinational companies. She was the University of Cambridge trainer and examiner of YLE main suit and BEC exams. She introduced the first abacus program in India in 1998, creating a number of entrepreneurs, and launched after school support centers as the resource head of Lakeview Learning and Development Center. She is TC TRF BEL, one of 3 for BEL Rotary International, BEL Cadre, CED Cadre, RI. She is also BEL RAJ member of Advisor India chapter. This is her 5th year now. She also functions as Cadre support, RID 3234 and CSD RC Ambattur. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. Dr. Vasanthi, the floor is yours.
Okay. Let me welcome you to a glimpse of expression of peace through culture, art, and dialogue on 21st September 2024. Culture stems out of values. Values are long bred. Culture finds expression in daily activities, personal behaviors, and dialogues. It does take a long time to practice and imbibe culture as a peaceful, unconscious competence. I'm very happy Dr. Rukmini, a peace fellow practicing peace as a way of life, my good friend who works with organizations and peace agencies worldwide brings to the table her experience today. She has helped cultivate peace across geographies in the most affected, strife torn spaces. Dr. Phil is a fellow Rotary Peace activator leading World Beyond War, educating countries and children on the importance of spend on peace rather than war. Welcome to Dr. Phil and Dr. Rukmini Iyer. Hosting us are MGR Janaki College, a ladies' college whose alumni world over make a difference in leading homes, communities in a peaceful manner. They have art, music departments and engage in many aesthetic activities to ensure that minds remain calm and peaceful. Lakeview Training Center has been working with a number of organizations, both management and non-management, in order to help create meaningful dialogues for investments and productivity happen only in peaceful geographies and countries. I bring you the greetings of Rotary President Stephanie, RAGFP Chair DGN Grace Van Zyl, the India chapter, and my own club president, Rotarian David. Let's create the magic of peace for every individual as citizens of the world. Let's create magic that will help us reduce our investment of time and money in war, building bombs, but in peace and building peace. Om Shanti. Welcome to peace.
Dr. Rotarian Vasanti, for your inspiring words and for setting the stage for this meaningful event. Next, we turn the voices of commoners on peace. Their perspectives and experiences are key to shaping the future of peace building. Let's listen a few participants from different walks of life share their thoughts and views on peace.
Hi, ma'am. Can you share a personal experience where you felt a sense of peace?
என்னோட பர்சனல் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா என்னோட ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் என்னோட லைஃப்பில். ஏன்னா நம்ம ஒவ்வொரு விஷயத்தில் நம்ம டவுன் ஆகும்போதெல்லாம் அவங்க நான் இருக்கேன்னு சொல்லி கொஞ்சம் நல்லா பூஸ்ட் பண்ணி நம்ம லைஃப்பை ஸ்மூத்தாக கொண்டு போகிறோம். ஸோ அவங்க என்றைக்குமே ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் தான்.
Hi, ma'am. What does peace mean to you?
மனசில் எந்த வித கவலையும் இல்லாமல் அமைதியாக இருந்தோமா, அந்த அமைதி தான் நமக்கு வந்து சந்தோஷம், நிம்மதி அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதுக்கு வந்து நம்ம தினமும் பிரார்த்தனை பண்ணணும், இல்லை தியானம் பண்ணணும், இல்லை கோவிலுக்கு போகலாம். அதெல்லாம் நமக்கு ஒரு விதத்தில் மனசுக்கு அமைதி கொடுக்கும்.
Hi.
Hi.
So, what brings you a sense of inner peace?
நான் வந்து ஐடியில் ஒர்க் பண்ணுறேன். என்னால் மார்னிங் எழுந்துக்க முடியல. மார்னிங் என்னால் ஒரு சரியாக டைமுக்கு சாப்பிட முடியல. ஆஃப்டர்நூன் லஞ்சும் என்னால் சரியாக சாப்பிட முடியல. கொஞ்சம் சாப்பிட வேண்டியதாக இருக்குது. ஹாஸ்டலில் ஃபுட்டும் கேவலமாக இருக்குது. வாயில் வைக்க முடியல. இப்போ நீங்கள் இந்த கொஸ்டின் கேட்டதுனால நீங்களே ஒரு 1000 வந்து என் அக்கௌண்ட்டுக்கு போட்டு விட்டீங்கன்னா நான் சாப்பிட்டு தூங்கிடுவேன். இதுதான் என்னுடைய வந்து மைண்ட் பீஸ் தரும். பாய்.
What role does nature play in your sense of peace?
எனக்கு நேச்சர்னா ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும். எனக்கு வந்து ரொம்ப அமைதியாக இருக்கும்போது மொட்டை மாடியில் போய் நான் க்ளவுட்ஸ் எல்லாம் பார்த்தேன்னா எனக்கு ரொம்ப அமைதியாக இருக்கும். இது வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும் நேச்சரில்.
Hi, sir. How can we resolve conflicts peacefully?
ஃபஸ்ட்டு அவங்க 2 பேரும் ரீசன் யார் சைடு கரெக்டாக இருக்குது அதை செக் பண்ணுவேன். செக் பண்ணிவிட்டு அவங்களுக்கு அது நான் பார்ப்பேன். அவங்களுக்கு நல்லதாக இருந்துச்சுன்னா அவங்களுக்கு சைடு போகும், கெட்டதாக இருந்துச்சுன்னா இது தப்பு அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவங்க எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணி அவங்களுக்கு சண்டையை சால்வ் பண்ணுவேன்.
Hi. So, what role does nature play in your sense of peace?
எங்கள் ஆஃபீஸில் வந்துட்டு எங்கள் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் கூட எங்களை பேச விடவே மாட்டாங்க. நாங்கள் வந்துட்டு ஈவினிங் ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா பீச் போயிட்டு ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸாக சேர்ந்து சில் பண்ணிட்டு வருவோம். அதுதான் என்னோட நேச்சர்.
Hi Alni, can you share your personal experience where you felt a sense of peace?
पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस बोलूँ तो जब मैं यूजी में पढ़ती थी मेरे एक दोस्त ने मुझे धोखा दिया। तो वो टाइम पे वो माफ़ी भी मांगी थी मुझसे, लेकिन मेरे सर मैम सब ने कहा कि मुझको माफ़ करने के लिए, लेकिन जब हम मेरे दिल से पूछी तो मेरे दिल बोला कि नहीं, तुम उसका वजह से बहुत रोई है, बहुत डिस्टर्ब हुई है, तेरा पढ़ाई सब कुछ किया है उसकी वजह से। तो वो टाइम उसको बिना माफ़ करे आगे जाने के लिए मेरा दिल कहा था। और हम जब मेरे दिल का बात सुनी उसका बाद वो मोमेंट ऑफ लाइफ सही में मेरा पीसफुल था। तो ये एक पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस था मेरा।
Okay, thank you.
பீஸ்னா இப்போது பீஸ் தான், நம்ம பீஸாக தான் எல்லாம் ஓடிட்டுருக்கோம். டெய்லியும் நம்ம லைஃப்பில் வந்து பீஸை மெயின்டைன் பண்ணணும், லைஃப்னால் பீஸ் இருக்கணும் அப்படின்னு தான் எல்லாருமே ஓடிட்டுருக்கோம். ஸோ ஒரு சாதாரணமான ஒரு மனுஷனுக்கு வாழ்க்கையில் நிம்மதின்னு ரொம்ப நிம்மதியெலாம் ஒன்றுமே இல்லை. நிம்மதியாக தான் ஓடும். டெய்லி ஓடுறதும் சரி, வீட்டில் அனுப்பிட்டு பார்த்து பேசுகிறது எல்லாமே பீஸ் கிடையாது. இப்போது நான் உங்ககிட்ட பேசுகிறேன், இப்போ உங்ககிட்ட பேசினாலே எனக்கு பீஸ் கிடைக்கும். எக்ஸாம்பிள் அந்த மாதிரி தான் பேசலாம்.
கான்ஃப்ளிக்ட்னா ஒன்றும் இல்லை, பெருசாக நம்மளை யாரா ஒரு இரிட்டேட் பண்ணுறாங்க இல்லை அடிக்கிறாங்க அப்படின்னா அவங்களை திருப்பி அடிக்க போகிறதால நமக்கு ஒன்றும் கிடைக்க போகிறது. அடித்தா அந்த வழி நமக்கு சரியாக போகிறதில்ல. அந்த வேர்டு யாராவது திட்டாங்கன்னா திருப்பி அவங்க திட்டம் மூலமாக நம்மளுக்கு எப்பயுமே கொஞ்சம் நேரம் இரிட்டேட் பண்ணிகிட்டே தான் இருக்கும். அதனால் அவங்க அமைதியாக விட்டுட்டேன்னா அது நமக்கே கொஞ்சம் நேரத்தில் சரியாக போயிடும். அவங்கள திருப்பி திட்டத்தால அவங்களுக்கு நமக்கு இருக்க வித்தியாசம் பெருசாக.
தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச். தேங்க்யூ.
Point on peace is, so when we spend time with family or friends, or when we alone at nature, or when we gaming, in that time we get some peace. While coming to conflicts, like when people are drunk, when they drink alcohol, in that time there will be conflicts.
ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
கான்ஃப்ளிக்ட் இப்போ யாராவது என்னை வந்து இரிட்டேட் பண்ணுறாங்க, இல்லை வந்து என் மேலே தப்பு இருந்துச்சுன்னா நான் அந்த இடத்துல அமைதியாக இருப்பேன். என் மேலே தப்பு இல்லைன்னா அந்த இடத்துல நான் கேட்பேன்.
ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ.
My opinion on peace would be that when you really understand your inner peace, that's when you will see it outside. And peace is not only you have your mental state of mind, but also your society, it's also people around you. And that is how the freedom, the way to peace is basically freedom. When you have freedom, you have peace within and out as well. And my opinion is that if you are in some deep conflict, just meditate, understand, know your inner peace, and then you will be able to resolve that.
ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
When you feel the peaceful state of mind.
ஸோ ஓகே, அக்கார்டிங் டு மீ, நான் எப்போ பீஸ்ஃபுல்லாக ஃபீல் பண்ணுவேன் அப்படின்னா ஒருத்தவங்களுக்கு லவ் கொடுக்கும்போது, நம்மளை சுற்றி இருக்கவங்களுக்கு லவ் கொடுக்கும்போது. லவ் இஸ் பீஸ்.
Hi, what does peace mean to you?
For me, spending time with God or praying alone, it gives me inner peace. So that's it.
Thank you.
How can we resolve conflicts peacefully?
We can identify the root of the problem and communicate assertively with the respective person. Hi, what does peace mean to you?
எனக்கு நிம்மதி வந்து அப்பா அம்மா என் ஃபேமிலி எல்லாம் சந்தோஷம் இருந்தால் அது எனக்கு அதே தான் எனக்கு சந்தோஷம் நிம்மதி அந்த தான்.
தேங்க்யூ. ஹாய் அம்மா, உங்களை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நிம்மதினா என்னன்னு நினைக்கிறீங்க?
4 பேருக்கு வேலை செய்யணும், நான் எனக்கு ஒப்படைச்ச வேலை நான் க்ளீனாக வச்சுக்கணும், அதுதான் எனக்கு நிம்மதி.
தேங்க்யூ.
4 பேர் நல்லா இருந்தால் எனக்கு நிம்மதி தான்.
Hi, what brings you inner peace?
ಇನ್ನರ್ ಪೀಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವಿ ಅವಂಗಮ್ನಿ ತನಿಗನ್ ಒಂದ ಬೌಂಡ್ರೀಸ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಕೆರಿ ತಿಲ್ಲ ಟೈಮು ಅವಂಗಮ್ನಿ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಕೆಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಹ್ಯಾರಿಯಸ್ ಇನ್ನರ್ ಪೀಸ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್.
Thank you. Hi, what does peace mean to you?
According to me, peace means like love your surroundings, love is peace, love everyone, smile at everyone, like whatever you feel, like even though whatever thoughts you have in your mind when you feel negative about the day, just have a small smile. There's nothing wrong. That is the biggest makeup whatever you're putting in your surroundings or the people, so that it is very visible and you feel very peaceful around you. People feel like approaching you, whatever stress they have, entire day that you feel so fresh and you make others happy also. This is according to me known as peace.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you share a personal experience where you felt a sense of peace?
Yes. Life जुको प्रॉब्लम्स रहाई, डे टू डे लाइफ में एक प्रॉब्लम्स रहाई, आना तेल एसके में हाउडिले दास नदी अंग पीस नता उंडंग लाइफ माबुना जुको कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स तुंग अभी सुतंगन माइंड पीस हिम नदी तुम कोट इन सोलो ट्रैवल जाव. सो सोलो ट्रैवल जास नदी तुंग पीस अब मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स प्रॉब्ली टाइम्स है तलगा. सो पीस ट्राई के रास नदी सोलो ट्रैवल, हैव अ सोलो ट्रैवल. थैंक यू.
Thanks.
Thank you for the insightful and powerful words. You are truly the change makers of tomorrow. Now, it's time for our first session, Peace Building Across Culture by Ms. Rukmani Iyer, a positive peace activator and founder of Excel Solutions. She is a seasoned peace builder and leadership consultant with over 23 years of global experience in leadership development, organization transformation, and peace building. She is the founder of Excel Solutions, where she integrates corporate leadership with nuanced requirements of peace building and dialogue facilitation. Rukmani's work is deeply rooted in ecocentrism, conscious leadership, and the use of dialogue to foster socio political and organizational change. As a positive peace activator with the Institute for Economics and Peace and a Rotary Peace Fellow, she has led initiatives that create trauma-informed spaces for dialogue, emphasizing the intersections of ecology, gender, and technology in peace building. Her contributions extend to governance roles and with international organizations, enhancing their strategic direction and inclusive practices. Ms. Rukmani's approach underscores her commitment to building sustainable, peaceful, and inclusive communities across culture. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Rukmani Iyer.
Thank you, Amreen. And to everyone watching, wish you a happy International Day of Peace. And even if you're not watching it on the 21st of September, I would still hope that it continues to be a day of peace for you and that you continue to actively work towards peace wherever you are. When I watched the videos recorded of the youth, it felt like everything that had to be said about peace has already been said, and there's really very little to add. Nevertheless, I've been offered some time to speak particularly about peace building across cultures, and I'll attempt to share based on my life experiences and my work in the next few minutes. Having said that, I do want us to remember that when we speak about peace building, it is not something that needs to be relegated to a small bunch of professionals. It is our duty as inhabitants of this planet that each one of us works at peace in whatever contexts that we are in, whether it's personal or societal or professional, and each of us have the opportunity for it every day in our lives, right? Given the amount of conflicts that we experience both within ourselves as well as outside of us. So, one thing I certainly want us to bear in mind as you hear me speak about my experiences is that peace building is not something that is only done by a few professionals or academics. It is something that needs to be actively engaged with by each one of us. So, with that, I'm going to share a few slides just to give some direction to my own thoughts as I speak to you. So, most of my work around peace building has been focused on dialogue. And the reason that is so is because I firmly believe that as far as our species is concerned, the human species is concerned, our beginnings of peace rest in a sense of understanding, a sense of understanding of ourselves to begin with, and then, of course, also a sense of understanding of each other. And therefore, for me, dialogue becomes the most natural methodology to get us started off with on the peace building journey. In terms of my own journey into this process, it began largely from my own personal space of growing up in an environment of conflict, which led me to keep asking questions around what does peace mean to an average person, a lay person like me who does not have anything to do with, at least as a child, I did not have anything to do with peace building. I didn't know what the United Nations was or what other world bodies or governments did around peace building. I grew up with a question around saying, what does a regular person like me uh, do about peace when there is so much conflict in my life? And it is that question which led me in this on this career path, which also includes peace building. And some of the major themes that I will speak more about as we go along is dialogue, which is a major tool that I use in peace building. Decolonization is another theme that I work with and bring in a lot, because at least in the world as it exists today, I believe decolonization is a critical part of peace building, both inner peace as well as peace outside of us. Another crucial theme that I want to touch upon is the idea of ecocentrism. The fact that while, particularly in the context of peace building, we more or less only focus on human conflicts, right? And human conflicts could be around various aspects of identity. It could be conflicts around religion or caste or privilege or economic status or nations, national identity, regional identities, and so on. While we obsess in one sense around these notional identities, which we have ourselves created, they are not a natural phenomenon at all, right? We play make believe with these identities. I think it's also important to remind ourselves of the fact that we are really not at the top of the chain as far as being inhabitants of this planet is concerned. If anything, we as a species are entirely dependent on other species on the planet. Right? I'm sure all of us know this by now because there's been a lot of talk about it in the context of climate change. That if bees stop existing, bees that pollinate flowers and generate honey and so on, the moment bees stop existing, if we manage to get them to a point of extinction, humans only have a couple of weeks to survive on this planet and then we are gone, because that's the level of dependency we have on other species on this planet, which includes the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and so on. And therefore, it's important to reset our thought process, reset our systems and structures in a way that we bring in ecocentrism into our value system, really. And what I mean by ecocentrism is not really being obsessed about us and our survival and our comfort as a human species, but really to say, how do we make this ecosystem, this biosphere that we live on, how do we make this survive in a way that, as a part of it, we also survive and thrive? And underlining all of this is the idea of leadership, which tends to be a large part of my work as well. And when I say leadership, I don't really mean a sense of authority or a designation or an external sense of power, but I mean leadership in the sense of how do we lead ourselves to begin with? How do I lead my everyday life? And is there a possibility of me leading myself in a manner that perhaps could be inspiring for people around or communities around or larger masses around? And having said that, I would also encourage all of us listening to hold leadership as a question and not really as a particular framework or a particular model or belief, because if existing models of leadership worked, the world would not be in the state that it is in right now. So it is important that we acknowledge the fact that what we know about leadership so far has not really worked, and therefore, how do we hold it as a question? How do we continually ask ourselves, what does leadership mean? How do I need to lead myself in this moment? And in the next moment, the answer might change, and that's okay. But can I continue to keep questioning my own sense of leadership, and in the process, perhaps also extend the question to others around me, and to see what could emerge as an answer for the moment? So those are the major themes of my work as far as peace building across various cultures has been over the last couple of decades. And I spoke of dialogue as the first thing here, and I'm going to expand a little bit on that. And yeah, I firmly believe that dialogue is essential if we want to understand each other, particularly for our own species. I think it's essential because dialogue allows us to discover shared values, discover common ground in a way that we start removing layers of conflict one by one, peeling off things that keep us separated to really look at what unites all of us. And dialogue as a tool for peace building is can be done in a very structured, can be used in a very structured manner where people can be led to move beyond identity, surface level identities and stereotypes, and look at how do we connect with the human being within and start learning to collaborate with each other. And while yes, that there are a lot of, in my profession as a peace builder, there are a lot of professional dialogue facilitators. Each of us have the ability to be dialogue facilitators in our own lives. What does it need for you to dialogue? It needs the ability to listen and the willingness to be changed by what you listen to. Right? Dialogue is not about going into a conversation with another person or other people and try and convince them and persuade them to accept your point of view. Right? Dialogue is not about persuasion. Dialogue is really about listening and allowing yourself to be moved, allowing your beliefs to be shifted if necessary, if you're entirely convinced and if it sits well with you. And that's a process that each one of us is capable of, right? And every moment that you feel disturbed about something in any interaction is really an opportunity for dialogue, whether you receive a forward on a WhatsApp group which disturbs you, or whether it's a dinner table conversation with family members or friends which where somebody expresses a point of view that you don't agree with. Those are opportunities for dialogue. And what we can do in those moments is really to look at, how do I learn to listen to where the other person is coming from? What need are they attempting to fulfill in saying what they say? And am I able to speak to that need, not speak to the content of what they said? Because if I speak to the content of what they said, it's very easy to get into an argument. But if I can speak to the need which makes them share what they share, then perhaps there is a possibility of dialogue, really listening to each other and figuring out how can we work with each other rather than against each other. So that's something I'd invite all of us to explore. Where are opportunities for dialogue in your life and in your work, and how do you want to step in to dialogue? How do you want to listen to the other? uh, just in terms of the kinds of dialogues that I engage with in a professional context, uh, that there are various sort of opportunities that come up in my line of work. Most recently, something that I have been engaged with is a project called Minorities of Peace, which is funded by Rotary International and the Institute for Economics and Peace. And what we're working on is dialogue largely between Ukrainian refugees of various indigenous and minority identities, but also a few Russian refugees. And all of these are refugees based in different parts of Eastern Europe. And we've been bringing them together to look at how do we get them to speak to each other in spite of the fact that they come from different religious identities. Most of them are from minority or indigenous communities, which means they are small populations, and therefore the impact of war is a lot more on them than it is on a majority population. And yet these are people, because they are vulnerable, they are also more open to dialogue because they realize the need to speak to each other and to collaborate. And And I'm sharing this particular example particularly because a lot of us may feel that when we are in moments of tension with another person, or when we feel powerless in a certain situation, uh, sometimes we feel like that's not the time to talk to the other person, right? Because we are unsure of how we feel. But what I want us to remember is that in your moments of vulnerability is where there is opportunity to dialogue, because that's when you're going to be able to really connect with the human aspect of the other. When you open up and share with the other person what you're feeling, why you're feeling vulnerable, what your fears are, and what your needs are. And in that moment, a human conversation is possible, because the moment you recognize and acknowledge the fact that you're vulnerable, you're dropping your identities, right? You're dropping the fact that I'm from a certain religion or caste or nation or any of those other identities, and saying, hey, I'm human like you. And uh, I have something to say to you. I have a need, and I request for your support in meeting that need. And so, if dialogue is possible with such vulnerable communities who are at war with each other right now, I'm sure dialogue is possible for us in our lives in a relatively more peaceful environment than where they are right now. So, and that was the point of sharing this specific example. So having said that, when we work across cultures, and we are in an increasingly wired and connected world right now, and it does not look like that's going to go away anytime soon. If anything, it is only increasing, that sense of globalization and connectedness. What it is also doing as a result is it's bringing up a lot of power dynamics, right? It is bringing up power dynamics in terms of at the level of nations, in terms of how countries play politics with each other. It is also bringing up a lot of conversations around justice, or the lack of it, more often than not. And and in very many cases, justice which has been historical, which has been going, injustice which has been historical, which has been going on for generations together, and what it does to populations. If you look at the number of wars in our world right now, and while the media may only talk about one or two of them in detail, we have a huge number of armed conflicts around the world in this moment right now, and which also therefore calls for a lot of local peace processes to happen, right? Regular people like you and me being engaged in whatever your local context is, whether it's a school or a college or a workplace or family, or whatever is your context. What is it that you can do to build peace in a manner that it creates a ripple effect in the world around, right? And that's why it becomes essential to be very cognizant of your cultural context. Where are you? What language is spoken where you are, or languages are spoken? What other cultural parameters play out in your day-to-day lives? Because peace building is not one global formula, right? It is something that each of us needs to sense into, and really intuit in your own context. And what works in one context may not really work in another context, which in a way is a great thing, because that's also that's also an opportunity to really be as creative as you can be, so long as you're very present to what your context is and how you can start speaking uh, across cultures, across divides of any kind that may exist in your context. The other bit I want to expand on a little bit is the idea of ecocentrism, which I spoke about, that increasingly uh, we are, of course, feeling the impact of climate change. A lot of you who are listening in, I imagine, are in the south of India, and we know how, there are floods that have happened virtually every year in the last few years, and with devastating impact, right? So it's also important to acknowledge the fact that while a lot of our conflicts are with each other as human beings, we are also at war with nature in many ways. We are destroying a lot of our biodiversity. We are impacting other species around us, including plants and animals, in an adverse way. Uh, we are exploiting the mineral kingdom to an extent where it's become unsustainable now. And so it's also important to look at, when we are speaking about peace building, how do we also look at the ecology around us as an integral part of that peace building process, right? How do we, and one thing that really is beautiful about this is the fact that the moment we bring in ecology into any conflict, it becomes a common ground, because changes in our ecology impact all of us, regardless of whatever other notional identities that we hold. So, this is something that I'd ask us to really learn more about. There is a lot of material available online around ecocentrism and in general around climate change and ecological awareness. And it is really the work of our times. If you're alive here and now, it is your job to really look into this and look at what is it that you as an individual can do to make sure that we at least minimize our conflict with the environment. And this is something that requires each one of us to actively participate in. We cannot afford to be passive around taking up ecocentric leadership in our own lives. It could start with something as simple as minimizing the use of plastic in your own lives, and then it can grow from there. There is a lot that you can do in your own spaces, and that's an opportunity for each one of us here to think about. Uh, and the one last conceptual piece I want to touch upon is the idea of decolonization. And by decolonization, I don't only mean colonization from a settler colonialism perspective. For example, in the context of India, we were colonized by the British for a few centuries, but that's not the only kind of colonization I'm speaking about. What I mean by colonization is the idea of an extractive mindset taking over either a land or a person or even a mind, right? And we are colonized by many things, even today, right? Where we are colonized a lot by media, we are colonized a lot by capitalism and consumerism. We are colonized by certain political notions and identities and ideologies. And it's important to recognize that colonization is still a living, breathing phenomenon. And when we are speaking about peace building, it is important to look at how do we also decolonize in the process. What do we mean by decolonize? We mean, how do we locate things that have taken hold of our mindsets, our beliefs, our thought processes, and how do we reclaim agency, reclaim power back in those spaces? It's really not about fighting anybody else, but really freeing yourselves up in a manner that you're not consumed by a certain way of thinking. And very often, in the context of decolonization, we speak about moving beyond Western ideals. And when I say Western ideals, I don't necessarily only mean the Western part of the world. I'm not only pointing at Europe and America as much as saying, when we say Western ideals, it represents a certain mode of thinking, right? A certain mindset, which in the context of our continent, it happened to come from the West, but it does not mean that it doesn't exist here. We are as colonized and we are as much a colonizer as the West is. And so it's really not about creating an East West divide as much as locating how our lives are colonized and how do we revive our own traditions, our own local wisdom and knowledge in a manner that we can really rest in our own roots and operate from there. And that naturally leads us to being more ecocentric as well, more connected with our land and resources, and therefore being more respectful of it as well. And finally, I want to leave us with questions around this. What is it that you can do about peace building, wherever you are, whatever you do. Firstly, like I said, it begins with dialogue, and each one of you has an opportunity to dialogue anywhere in your life, including all your social media platforms, your WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups, and workplaces and schools and colleges and wherever you are. Use it as an opportunity to dialogue. And what we mean by dialogue is really being curious about yourself, about the other, the willingness to shift with what you're listening to, and and then of course seeing what other reality emerges when you're willing to shift, right? So that's an opportunity that all of us here could explore. Very importantly, look at what could be your role in fostering understanding and sensitivity, culturally and otherwise, in your community, in your workspaces, your educational spaces. Each of you have a role to play. And so I'll leave you with that last question. How do you create spaces for dialogue across the various divides that you experience in your lives? So that's where I will pause. And I hope what I've shared has triggered some questions and thoughts. If you'd like to explore them further, I'm really happy to hear from you. What you see on the screen right now is my email ID. So please do write in, and I'll be happy to explore this further with you. Thank you so much. Back to you, Amreen.
Thank you, Ms. Iyer, for that enlightening session on how we can build bridges of peace across culture. For our second session, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Phil Gittins, the Education Director at World Beyond War and Positive Peace Activator. Dr. Phil Gittins is World Beyond War's Education Director. He has over 20 years of leadership, programming, and analysis experience in the areas of peace, education, psychology, youth, and community development. He has lived, worked, and traveled in over 60 countries across 6 continents, taught in schools, colleges, and universities around the world, and trained thousands on peace and social change related issues. Other experience include work in youth and offending prisons, developing, launching, and overseeing a wide range of large and small scale programs and projects, as well as consultancy assignments for public, private, and non profit organizations. Dr. Phil has received multiple awards for his work, including a Rotary Peace Fellowship, CIID Fellowship, and Catherine Davis Fellowship for Peace. He is also a Positive Peace Activator and Global Peace Index Ambassador for Institute for Economics and Peace. He earned his PhD in International Conflict Analysis, MA in Education, and BA in Youth and Community Studies. He also holds postgraduate qualification in Peace and Conflict Studies, Education and Training and Teaching in Higher Education, and is a qualified counselor and a psychotherapist, as well as a certified neuro-linguistic programming practitioner and a project manager. Dr. Phil sits on board for the Journal of Peace Education. Dr. Gittins will speak about the critical role of youth in peace building. Please welcome Dr. Phil Gittins.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everybody for joining us. And I was just thinking while listening to everybody, there's this famous saying, right, that says something like, never take the stage or never speak after animals or children have spoke, because they just take the show away. I think that saying should now be extended to everybody that spoke before me, because it was just wonderful listening to everybody, right from Vasanti right through to all the young people, as Rukmini rightly said. They said it all. They said it all. And I always love, always love listening to Rukmini, because you always get me thinking a lot, Rukmini, and some of the things that you shared today were really, 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 really profound. So thank you for that, and I'm going to go away thinking a lot more about some of the things that you shared. Some of the things that you shared kind of relate as well to some of the things that I will share. So what I wanted to do And Amrin, I just wanted to say congratulations to you because you're doing a brilliant job in terms of coordinating, facilitating all. I understand how difficult it is to do all this. You're doing an amazing job, so thank you. I'm just going to share my screen for one moment. Now, I'm learning this new studio, so please bear with me. Peace building's about practicing and working together, so maybe you might need to help me. Okay, update file. Amrin, can you help me understand how to share? Share screen. Okay, here we go. I think I've done it. Okay. So I should be able to entire screen. Here we go. Just bear with me. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now, which is great. So thank you, everybody. So I want to talk about the role of youth and peace building. Within the time, I want to do, let's say, 2 or 3 things. So one is make an argument. And then 2, support that argument with evidence and opinion. And then 3, talk about a project, a program, which is the first of its kind within the Rotary world, which is a collaboration between the Rotary Action Group for Peace and World Beyond War, which has trained, engaged, mentored, supported youth, organizations and communities in 19 countries to date. And then finally end with, like Rukmini did, many people ask, well, okay, Phil, what can we do? We want to get involved. Well, we're going to end with some ways to get involved and some questions for us to think about. So that's my task. So the first thing is an argument. Here's the argument. There is no peace, there's no viable approach to global lasting peace on a global level or on local levels that does not include 2 things. 1, peace education. 2, young people. The first one, peace education, I put in brackets here. It has to be a certain kind of peace education. It has to be a comprehensive and holistic approach. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some brilliant work being done, and more needs to be done to develop what we call here a comprehensive and holistic approach to peace education. And then the second one, I'll try and demonstrate why young people are so important. They've always been important, and they're particularly important now. In the sense that I heard something earlier, yes, young people are the leaders of tomorrow. They're also the leaders of today as well. And they have so much talent, so much expertise that we really need to support and nurture and promote. So why is peace education and young people important? Well, first we need to think about peace. So when you look at the world's global challenges that we have, one way of thinking about the global challenges that we have is summed up in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now, peace is cross-cutting. It plays a central role in all of the 17 in the sense that there cannot be any sustainable development or no sustainable development without peace and no peace without sustainable development. Why is that? Well, there's a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that when there's violence, it diverts attention away from good health, from education, from all the other sustainable development goals that you see here on the screen. So in order to make progress on sustainable development and peace, we need to address violence, which is, of course, the central challenge for the peace building field. And a major, and often overlooked cause of violence around the world is the elephant in the room. There is no viable approach to lasting peace, and thank you, Vasanti, who brought it up, that does not address the all-encompassing cultural, systemic problem of war and the preparations for war. So if you're interested in peace-building work, that can take many forms, as Rukmini rightly said, and people have to also pay attention to the biggest threat to global peace, security, and development that we have, which is war. As a result of war, in particular, and for preparations for war, we have the current dynamics that we see around the world. So at least 180 million people have died in war since the 20th century. According to the Institute for Economics and Peace, 19 trillion is spent on basically responding to or the economic containment of violence. A huge chunk of that is because of war. Different estimates say different things, but one I think is fairly accurate says at least 10 trillion of the 19 trillion spent on war goes to is going towards addressing issues of war, both the legacies of war, the immediacy of war when the bombs are dropped, and really in particularly the preparations for war, which are often done in global north countries such as England and particularly the US, and Europe. So while many of the bombs are dropping in often, but not always, global south countries, most of the preparation is not done in the actual countries. And that's a really important thing for us to remember. If there's one thing to take away from this presentation, is this: we are all implicated in the war system. We are all implicated in the war system in different ways, and therefore we need to address it. So about 2 trillion is spent each year on so-called military defense. Okay, and that's a tiny fraction. I think not even 1% is spent on peace building. Different estimates say different things, but I think a good one is maybe 0.5% of the actual 2 trillion is spent on peace building. What do we conclude from this? We conclude that we're preparing so much more for war than we are preparing for peace and investing in peace. World Beyond War has an important campaign. It would cost us 30 billion to end global starvation on the planet. That's about 3% of current US military spending. Well, what's one of the consequences of this? We've seen a 340% increase in battlefield deaths in the last 10 years, now at a 30-year high in violence around the world, and we have about 100 plus million people displaced. War is development in reverse. There's no way, and I'm going to go and say a little bit about, but I really thank Rukmini for bringing the importance of nature and the importance of looking at this when we're thinking about peace building. So climate change. The military and war is the leading destroyer of the natural environment on the planet, the leading cause, the leading polluter on the planet, and also the leading user of fossil fuels on the planet. So individual actions do count. They do count. However, and unless we look at the system, we are not going to make the progress on climate change that we need. Another existential threat: nuclear weapons, nuclear apocalypse. It's the cause of the risk of nuclear apocalypse, the war system. It's the biggest cause of death, destruction, and injury and trauma on the planet, war. War is also the top cause of the refugee crisis. It's also the reason for bad governance and one of the primary justifications why we don't collaborate. Rukmini rightly said, we're living in a globalized world, and it's going to be even more so globalized moving forward. We are all interconnected. We've seen with COVID, what happens in one place will travel. But wars are one of the main reasons why we are not very good at collaborating, because we're living in this mentality of us versus them. So we need to address that. And then finally, competition and cooperation is what I just spoke about on global crises. So what are the implications for this as peace builders? So one is, this is not to suggest that everybody on this call should be working to end war. Okay, it's not to suggest that is all that matters in peace building, because it's not. Because of course, there's wonderful work being done within Rotary, that looks at smaller issues, peace with self, peace with others, and that's necessary. That's necessary. It's not sufficient. What we want to suggest is that there should be more work being done, and thankfully, we're working with the Rotary Action Group for Peace on this to look at trying to broaden perspectives of what it really means to work for peace in the 21st century. So not to suggest that everybody should be doing this, but it is to suggest that if war is the greatest challenge to lasting global peace, and I think there's really good evidence to suggest that, then more of us should, in the global community, should be working about this. But not many are not familiar about the war system. So with regards to peace, with regards to war, I think there's broad agreement now that we cannot achieve a lasting, sustainable peace that doesn't include the active role of young people. So equipping young people with the skills, network support to both promote peace and oppose war as a dual challenge is one of the largest and most global important challenges facing humanity. Why young people? Well, thank you, India. At least 50, 60 years ago, Gandhi said, if we are to reach real peace in our times, then we need to start with children and young people. That's always been the case, but it's particularly the case now. We now have more young people on the planet than ever before in the whole of history. So if we're not engaging them as peace builders, then the chances are that they're often perceived as and positioned as kind of problems to be solved. Now, I've got a lot of good work is being done with regards to this, including from the UN, and we have Security Council resolutions to improve the role of young people. But there's not enough work being done, especially with regards to engaging young people in the bigger issues of war abolition. Well, one of the things that we do, and this leads on to the importance of peace education and a particular form of peace education. We've developed a project in collaboration, a program in collaboration with the Rotary Action Group for Peace. We have a memorandum of understanding and have worked together since 2021 to educate, mentor, equip youth, organizations, communities, Rotary Peace Fellows, positive peace activators to engage more effectively in these issues through a project called Peace Education Action for Impact. Here's some of the things that we try and bridge the gap, both within Rotary and the peace building field more broadly. There's this kind of the weaving together of youth-led work with intergenerational work. They need to get better at combining both theoretical work, inquiry, reflection, learning with practice. And we use these ideas such as knowing, being, and doing. I'm going to say something about that shortly. Most importantly is that we draw from the best of the Rotary world, including the great work of the IEP and the methodologies, and also the best of the peace building field more broadly, to enable young people to have a comprehensive and a holistic look at what it takes to build peace in the 21st century. So both promoting peace and positive peace with justice and all that goes with that, as well as opposing war and the root causes and addressing it through non-violence. Again, India is a great example of the power of non-violence. So we do this through Peace Education Action for Impact. But I want to say a little bit more about this. It's something I've been working on and still continuing to work on. But when we think about peace building, we need to have a comprehensive and a holistic perspective. And I think in some ways it includes this, both the inner dimensions, so looking at kind of peace with self and peace in relations with others, but also right through to the structural, the cultural, and the environmental. What tends to happen now is we have these ideas, and Rukmini, in a sense, kind of touched on it. We have this kind of hierarchy which is set up, and we have these ideas of a person-centered approach to peace building, a human-centered approach to peace building. Now, these are good in and of themselves, but what they do is they set up a hierarchy between people and planet. Okay, so the idea here of peaceful ways of being with self, others, and the world is to try and address that hierarchy and try to say that really when we're thinking about peace building in a comprehensive and holistic way, we need to think of peace with humans, with non-humans, animals, and with the ecosystem and world that we are part of, and the interdependence between all of them. So this is the idea and what we try and look at on peace education and action for impact. More specifically, we have two parts. One is education, which spans 6 weeks online, and then the other one is action, which is 8 weeks. And we really go through a comprehensive and holistic approach, drawing on ideas from peace building, social change, but more broadly, leadership, development, psychotherapy, psychology, etc. And we have 6 modules. So module 1, introduction to peace building, looks at and asks questions around what is peace, conflict, violence, power. Module 2 looks at the current system, the war system that we have, and what it takes to build a peace system where peace is pursued by peaceful means, So a comprehensive approach to peace education should always have at its foundation a first commitment of non-violence. So if that's the case, then we should always be against the use of violence, and of course always against the use of war as a means for addressing conflicts. Module 3 and 4 look at what we call peaceful ways of being with self and peaceful ways of being with others, including the world. And then module 5 and 6 looks at how do you design, implement, evaluate, monitor, and communicate peace projects and peace initiatives. We draw from our award-winning work, including our book, which has been read by elected officials around the world and used in schools, universities, community settings all around the world to educate people around these issues. And we've won various global challenges, including the Global Educators Challenge and the US Peace Prize. But of course, education is necessary, but not sufficient. So what we do after the young people go through the 6 weeks of online education, so they can access from wherever they are in the world. And we have at the core of this work this idea of cross-cultural and intergenerational learning. So I will talk to you a little bit shortly about the countries, but it's an opportunity for them to engage with and learn from each other. And then in part 2, they take what they've learned and they do youth-led action projects. And we use this idea of this kind of conception of the project should be youth-led, adult-supported, community-rooted, and globally minded. So as a way of really trying to get at this idea of globalization with contextualization. Rukmini kind of touched on that as well. Here's one example of a country project team. Each of the country project teams has 14 people, 4 adults, which are often Rotary Peace Fellows, Rotary presidents, district governors, or Rotary leaders who act as mentors for the young people and coordinators and provide the scholarships for young people to take part in this project. And then young people 18 to 35, we have 10 young people that are part of each particular team. So it's a win-win-win-win, integrating theory and practice, forging new alliances, bridging generational and cultural divides. Here's the first project that we did in 2021. 12 countries were involved. It's a huge undertaking, massive pilots with Cameroon, Nigeria, South Sudan, Kenya, Ukraine, Russia, Turkey, Serbia, Colombia, Venezuela, US, and Canada as a country project team. I'll just go through this very quickly. Many impacts, including training all the young people and mentors from these countries, including over 15 youth-led peace projects at the end. Here's some of the young people in terms of what they said, how it impacted them. Maria from Colombia, the program was the best experience of my life. Annie, who you might recognize as a wonderful Rotary leader, this project has been transformative for me. It changed the trajectory of my life. She's actually gone to study peace and conflict related issues right now. Irena from Ukraine, since the war began, lots of peace projects were being done, but they didn't really have the tools to know how to design and implement projects. They got them on the Peace Education Action for Impact project. But it also impacts Rotarians because they got training in how to work more effectively with young people. Here's Alison, the former chair of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, who we have a MOU with. And here's some of the ideas for the projects that were done. So Cameroon did a project around youth exclusion, and they got a letter from the minister to congratulate them for the work. Here's many projects in Colombia with the Rotary Wheel there. Nigeria addressed the issues of school kidnapping. The US did what they call a Peace Accords album, where they had artists in their team, and they went and did an album related to some of the things they were learning on the project related to inner and outer peace. So yeah, some of the impact is not just for the young people, it's also for the field. Here's an overview. I think I'll just skip this, but it's some examples of the projects that people did. And here's at the end, they have an opportunity to have an international platform where the young people, Rotarians, present their work to an international audience. So here's some of them. And you might recognize some of these wonderful Rotary faces here and leaders. good news is we just finished another project where we had 7 countries. So this time it was Ethiopia, Ghana, Guernsey, Philippines, Bosnia Herzegovina, Iraq, and Haiti. So really interesting projects. And the next step. So this is the question that we always get. Okay, Phil, how can we get involved? Well, if you're interested and you want to be involved, and if India wants to have a team, we're currently in conversations with several countries who want to be part of the next round, which is starting in January, February, and we're in conversation with at least 4 or 5: Wales, Egypt, Ghana again, probably a country from Africa, and perhaps Pakistan as well, because we're doing a pilot with them starting in October around peace education. But if India are interested, please let us know. You can find more details here. We'll be on war/action for impact. The team is made up of coordinators, mentors, and youth. I could happily talk about that more. We will have an information session for all countries that want to have this project made available to their young people on the 5th of October at 4 p.m. UK time. I can send more details about that. And here's my details. If anybody wants to follow up conversations or ask us something or be in touch, please reach out to us, phil@willbeyondwar.org. So that's it from me. I'll take a breath. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and congratulations again to everybody. And I really love the starting of it. I think you did a brilliant job of kind of setting the scene. So thank you so much, and on all the best for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Gittins, for your inspiring insights into how youth can lead the charge in building a more peaceful world. Now, to shift gears and approach peace building through performance art, we present a special mime performance on conflict management by the students of Department of Psychology, Dr. MGR Janaki College of Arts and Science for Women. Mime has a unique way of conveying profound messages without the use of words. Let's watch how conflict can manage peacefully. Thank you to the performers for illustrating how peace can prevail even in challenging situations. That was a wonderful depiction of conflict and resolution. As we near the end of our event, it is my honor to invite Rotarian Dr. Kumar Rajendran to deliver the closing remarks. Rotarian Dr. Kumar Rajendran is a distinguished human rights consultant and a prominent advocate for social justice and peace. He currently serves as the District Rotaract Chair for Rotary International District 3234, where he plays a vital role in guiding youth led initiatives focused on community service, leadership, and peace building. Dr. Rajendran is the managing trustee and chairman of Dr. Imja Janaki College of Arts and Science for Women, contributing his expertise and passion for education and human rights. Holding 7 postgraduate degrees, including one in human rights and a doctorate in law, Dr. Rajendran has been a driving force in various humanitarian projects, both locally and internationally. An avid sports enthusiast, Dr. Kumar is the president of Archery Association of Tamil Nadu and the Tamil Nadu Archery of Association of Tamil Nadu and Tamil Nadu Olympic Association. Please welcome him to the virtual stage.
Hi, friends. Good evening. Today we gather to celebrate the International Peace Day, a global reminder of our shared commitment to peace. I am reminded of the words of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam: where there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. Where there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. Where there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. When there's order in the nation, there is peace in the world. Peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice, equality, and harmony. It begins within each one of us in how we treat one another and extend to how we build our societies. On this day, let us renew our efforts to promote tolerance, dialogue, empathy in our daily lives. Our aim is not only to conquer terrorists, but to conquer hearts, spreading love and understanding. Together, we can shape a more peaceful world, one step at a time. Let's embrace the responsibility and strive for peace every day. Thank you very much to all the organizers who organized this program today, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar, for your thoughtful closing remarks and for reinforcing the importance of peace in our communities. We now open the floor for brief question and answer session. We have a few questions from the participants. How can we make people open up about their problems as people think that it's socially acceptable if they are silent?
Vasanthi, do you want to
Rukmini,
start?
take the question. I love the way you said dialogues must continue, and that was beautiful. Thank you, Rukmani. Would you like to take that question?
Sure. Yes, I think that there's particularly in the kind of surveillance era that we are in, I think that there's a lot of assumed safety in silence, and therefore there is that tendency to want to not engage or stay passive. And having said that, it is important to note that we are as complicit in our silence as we are in our actions. And So, do you really want to be complicit and responsible in your silence and in your lack of action, or you'd rather use the opportunity to act and say what needs to be said? Either way, you're not going to be absolved of any responsibility. So it's really a matter of choice around what is it that you want to be responsible for, things that you've tried or things that you've witnessed and not acted on. So yeah, that's how I would respond
Just
to
to add to what Rukmini said, I like several of the terms that she used, like colonization was a word that she used, and she talked about refugees. She talked about cultivating a culture of peace, and she is engaged worldwide and has been very nice in giving us her ID. So, if you like to do little things in your own spaces, I think we should reach out to her. Any more questions come in?
The other question is, what can we do about silent forms of conflict like emotional abuse within the family or gaslighting?
Uh, One activity that we are promoting within our schools, especially our interact schools, is what we call a peace march. We have the children write placards and they march in the neighborhood with the band and all that, talking about dad is beating, brother is harming, or sister is harming, or whatever. These are generated by the kids, and then we invite the onlookers, whether they are bystanders or families, and we are hoping. I mean, on the during the next week, they march again, and others join them. Hopefully, we should create community related resources because they will be immediately available, and we should help whoever is abused to seek help. Asking for help itself is a big problem because maybe of fear or because they will not get attention. Police and all may come later, may do something, may not do anything, I don't know. But some immediate help must be available. Rukmini, you also want to take that?
Yeah, extending what you said, Vasanti, I think I would want to underline the role of bystanders here, because very often the person who's being abused is very often frozen in the moment and they really don't know how to respond, even if they want to. So it's also important for each one of us to keep our eyes and ears open to any forms of abuse that may be prevalent around us, particularly forms that the question named, including emotional abuse and gaslighting, is something that typically happens in our own inner circles, right, with people that have easy access to us. And in such circles, sometimes it's also a little difficult to call out the abuse for reasons of personal safety and sometimes financial dependence and so on. And so it's really important for bystanders, people who know about it or have witnessed the abuse in some sense, or even have a hint of it. It's important to check in with the person being abused around, do they need help? What sort of help do they need? And how can they be supported? I think the role of the bystander is critical here. And also to acknowledge that the moment I heard the question, in my mind it was also a very gendered question, because gaslighting and emotional violence often happens to women, and not only to women but often to women and yeah, minority genders in some sense. So yeah, it's also important to look at it from the gender lens and look at what is it that men can do as allies to reduce these forms of abuse, because yes, they do contribute to a whole lot of conflict in our society.
Thank you. Do you want to go for closure, Ragita? Rest of the questions can be taken otherwise. Is that possible? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sure.
To formally conclude today's webinar, I now invite Rotarian Dr. Ragita Radhakrishnan, IQSC Coordinator at Dr. MGR Janaki College, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
First of all, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you all are across the globe. Thank you so much to everybody who has attended this webinar. My special thanks to Rotarian Dr. Vasanthi Ranganathan, who I would say has been a very great inspiration from the very moment I've met her, because I have learned a lot from her and I continue to learn more from you, ma'am, in the future. So the whole idea of peace and conflict management, how each one of us can actually do so much from our own part, from like a little thing that, like a small thing that we do itself can create a very big impact in the world. That idea that was given by you even during the facilitation program that you had in our college was amazing. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all the guidance that you have given throughout this webinar. Thank you so much. My thanks to Ms. Rukmini Iyer, Positive Peace Activator and founder Excel Solutions, for the beautiful presentation and for enlightening us on how across cultures we can bring about a change. And it's not about doing a very great thing. Even a very small thing can bring about an impact. And my thanks to our second speaker, Dr. Phil Gittins, who spoke on youth and peace building. He's the positive peace activator and education director at World Beyond War. Thank you so much, Dr. Phil, for enlightening us on the role that youth can play and how it is important for the youth to actually, get into the field when they have to build peace across the world. Thank you so much to Rotarian Dr. Kumar Rajendran, who has always been such a great support and I would say a pillar of support to everything that we do, whether be it in college or in Rotary or wherever it is. Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar, for all the support that you have given for this program and for every program that we organize, and for all the efforts that you take in conflict management, in Rotaract, and everywhere that you are a part of. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you to all the other people who have contributed directly and indirectly for this program, especially our principal, Dr. Avani Mekle, and all the higher officials in our college, everybody in Lakeview Training and Development Center, and all my dear students who have performed for this, like the students of the Department of Natya who did an amazing dance performance on peace, so students of the Department of Psychology who did the mime, and all the people who participated in their views on peace part. We said youth, but then we had chronologically a little older people, but who are young at heart, who also wanted to be a part of it. So thank you so much for sharing your views. And thank you everybody who was here, who is still here with us listening to this program. Thank you so much, and let peace prevail within us and all around us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ragita, for your kind words. With that, we officially conclude today's international webinar on expression of peace, culture, art, and dialogue. On behalf of the organizing committee, I thank all speakers, performers, and participants for making this event a success. Let's continue working towards a peaceful world, one action, one conversation, one expression at a time. Have a peaceful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.